I want you to close your eyes for a moment and remember the last time you felt truly afraid. Maybe it was walking into a room full of strangers, feeling every eye on you as you searched for somewhere to belong. Maybe it was standing up to someone who was treating you unfairly, knowing that your voice was shaking but finding it anyway. Or maybe it was taking a leap towards something you desperately wanted but weren't sure you deserved. That job, that relationship, that dream you've been whispering to yourself in the dark. Feel that fear for just a moment. The way it sits in your chest, the way it makes your hands clench, the way it whispers that you're not enough, that you should stay small, stay safe. Now imagine if I told you that every single night, for about 2 hours, you have access to a private training ground where you could practice being the person you want to become, where you could face that fear, feel that courage, and literally rewire your brain to remember what it feels like to be brave. Where you could fail 1,000 times with no consequences and succeed once in a way that changes you forever. You see, 3 months ago, I had a dream that changed everything. I was standing in front of 1,000 people, about to give the most important presentation of my life. In real life, I would have been paralyzed. My hand would have been shaking, my voice would have cracked, and I would have stumbled through every word. But in this dream, something was different. I looked out at those faces, faces that could have been judging me, dismissing me, waiting for me to fail, and instead of shrinking, I expanded. I took a deep breath that filled not just my lungs, but my entire being, and spoke with a confidence I'd never felt before. When I woke up, that feeling didn't fade. It wasn't just a memory of a dream. It was a memory of being courageous. It was like my nervous system had been rewired overnight. And 2 weeks later, when I had to give an actual presentation, I drew on that dream experience. It was like I'd already done it before, like I'd already proven to myself that I could be brave. Here's what most people don't understand. We spend 1/3 of our lives dreaming, yet we treat it like it's just downtime, random noise, brain maintenance. But what if I told you that your dreams are actually the most powerful training simulator you'll ever have access to? What if I told you that every night you're given the keys to a workshop where you can literally sculpt your reality from the inside out? Tonight, I'm going to show you how to stop being a passenger in your own mind and become the architect of your courage. I'm going to show you how to transform the place where you're most vulnerable, your sleeping mind, into the place where you become most powerful. Let me blow your mind with something science discovered that changes everything about how we think about dreams. When you're in REM sleep, your brain is doing something extraordinary. It's not just processing the day's events. It's literally rewiring itself. The same neural pathways that fire when you actually experience something also fire when you dream about it. Your brain can't tell the difference between a vivid dream and reality when it comes to laying down memory patterns. Think about what this means for a moment. When you dream about flying, the same motor neurons fire as if you were actually moving through space. When you dream about being confident, the same neural networks activate as if you were actually standing tall, speaking clearly, taking up space in the world. There's fascinating research that shows when athletes visualize their performance, it helps improve their actual performance by about 16%. But when they dream about it, when they're actually experiencing the neural firing patterns of success while their brain is in its most plastic, most moldable state, the improvement jumps to over 40%. There's a reason why you wake up from nightmares with your heart racing, why you can feel the emotions from a dream for hours afterward. Your nervous system experienced it. Your brain recorded it. Your body responded as if it were real. And here's the beautiful part. If your brain can record fear, if it can strengthen neural pathways of anxiety and doubt, it can also record courage. It can strengthen pathways of confidence and strength. During REM sleep, your brain is consolidating memories, strengthening neural pathways, and literally deciding what patterns to keep and what to let go of. It's like your brain is a sculptor, and every night it's carving away what doesn't serve you and reinforcing what does. The question is, are you going to let that sculpting happen randomly, or are you going to pick up the chisel? Dr. Ursula Voss at the University of Frankfurt discovered that when people become lucid in dreams, when they become conscious within the dream state, their brains show increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for self-awareness and decision-making. They're literally more conscious in their dreams than most people are in their waking hours. This is why people who practice lucid dreaming often report profound changes in their waking confidence. They're not just imagining being brave, they're experiencing it. They're building neural highways to courage that their brain can travel in waking life. Your dreams aren't just random movies playing in your head. They're your brain's way of preparing you for life, of running simulations, of building the neural infrastructure for who you're becoming. The question is, are you going to let that preparation happen by accident, or are you going to take control of the most powerful training ground you'll ever have access to? Right now, there are 3 types of dreamers in the world, and I want you to think about which one you are. Because where you are right now isn't where you have to stay. First, there are the drifters. These are people who barely remember their dreams, who wake up with maybe fragments of images or feelings that fade before they can even grab hold of them. They go through their dream life the same way many people go through their waking life, unconsciously, reactively, letting things happen to them instead of making things happen. If you're a drifter, you're not broken. You're just asleep to one of the most powerful tools you have. Then there are the observers. These dreamers remember their dreams vividly, maybe even enjoy them. They wake up with clear memories of flying, of adventures, of strange and wonderful experiences. But they're still just watching the movie. They're audience members in their own subconscious theater, entertained but not empowered. They experience their dreams, but they don't direct them. And then there are the architects. These are the people who've learned to step into the director's chair of their own minds. They don't just dream, they build. They don't just experience, they design. They've realized that the sleeping mind isn't just a place where things happen to you, but a place where you can make things happen. Now, if you're like most people, your dreams probably reflect your fears more than your courage. You dream about being chased, about failing, about being unprepared for tests you forgot about showing up naked to important events. You dream about being small, being powerless, being at the mercy of forces beyond your control. And here's what's fascinating. Your brain is actually trying to help you. Those nightmares, they're your subconscious mind's way of running emergency drills, try to prepare you for threats. Your brain is practicing what it thinks you need to practice. The problem is it's practicing fear when you could be practicing courage. But what if instead of random emergency drills, you could run intentional courage drills? What if instead of your fears writing the script, you could write it yourself? What if instead of being chased, you could be the one doing the chasing your dreams, your goals, your highest potential? The beautiful thing about becoming an architect of your dreams is that you get to choose the construction materials. You get to choose whether you're building with fear or with courage, with limitation or with possibility, with the person you've been or the person you're becoming. The difference between escaping reality and training for it is intention. When you become an architect of your dreams, you're not running away from your waking life. You're building the inner resources to transform it. You're not hiding from who you are, you're discovering who you can become. All right, here's where everything changes. Lucid dreaming isn't some mystical ability that only special people can access. It's not a superpower reserved for shamans or spiritual gurus. It's a skill like learning to ride a bike or play an instrument. And like any skill, it requires practice, patience, and the right techniques. I want to share something with you. The first time I became lucid in a dream, I was so excited that I immediately woke up. I realized I was dreaming, felt this incredible rush of possibility, and then nothing. I was lying in bed, wide awake, frustrated that I'd blown my chance. But that moment of recognition, that split second of awareness, was the beginning of everything. Let's start with reality checks. Throughout your day, I want you to ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? Look at your hands. In dreams, hands often look distorted. They might have too many fingers or too few, or they might be melting or changing shape. Check a clock, look away, then look back. In dreams, time is inconsistent. Digital clocks will show impossible times, or the time will change drastically when you look away and back again. Read some text, assign a book, anything with words. Look away, then read again. In dreams, text changes. It might say something completely different, or it might be gibberish, or it might be in a language you don't recognize. These reality checks aren't just exercises. They're training your brain to be more aware, more questioning of what's real. This isn't just a cute exercise. You're training your brain to become more aware, more questioning of reality. And when that habit carries over into your dreams, that's when the magic happens. That's when you suddenly realize, wait, I'm dreaming. This is my dream. I can take control of this. But here's the foundation everything else is built on: dream journaling. This is non-negotiable. The moment you wake up, before you check your phone, before you go to the bathroom, before you think about what you have to do today, write down everything you remember. Even if it's just a feeling, a color, a single image that makes no sense. You're telling your subconscious that dreams matter, that you're paying attention, that this conversation between your conscious and unconscious mind is important. Most people forget their dreams within minutes of waking because they've never signaled to their brain that dreams are worth remembering. Keep your journal right next to your bed. When you wake up, don't move too much. Movement can scatter dream memories. Lie still for a moment and reach back into the dream. Often, one detail will bring back the whole experience. Write in present tense. I am walking through a forest, not I walked through a forest. This helps preserve the immediacy of the experience. Now, once you're remembering dreams regularly, we add the mild technique, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. As you're falling asleep, repeat, next time I'm dreaming, I will remember I'm dreaming. But don't just say the words, feel them. Visualize yourself becoming lucid in a recent dream. See yourself recognizing the dream signs. Feel the moment of realization. Experience what it would be like to suddenly know you're in control. For those ready to go deeper, there's the wake back to bed method. Set an alarm for 4 to 6 hours after you fall asleep. When it goes off, stay awake for 20 to 30 minutes thinking about lucid dreaming, reviewing your dream journal, setting intentions for your next dream. Then go back to sleep with the clear intention to become lucid. You're targeting REM sleep when dreams are most vivid and your chances of becoming lucid are highest. Here's where most people go wrong. They try to force it. They get frustrated when they don't become lucid immediately. They think there's something wrong with them if it doesn't happen in the first week or even the first month. But here's the truth. Every night you work on this, you're strengthening your awareness. Every dream you remember is progress. Every reality check you do during the day is building the muscle that will serve you in dreams. Some people become lucid on their first try. Others take months. Both are normal. The key is consistency, not intensity. It's better to do reality checks 5 times a day, every day, than to do them 50 times in one day and then forget about them for a week. The goal isn't to escape your life through dreams. It's to use dreams to become more fully alive in your waking hours. You're not just trying to control your dreams. You're learning to be the conscious creator of your experience, asleep and awake. You're developing a skill that will serve you every night for the rest of your life. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. What's the one thing you would do if you knew you couldn't fail? Not the safe answer, not the socially acceptable one, but the real one. What conversation would you have? What risk would you take? What version of yourself would you step into if fear wasn't holding you back? I'm asking because that thing you just thought of, that's what we're going to train for. That's why we're doing this work. Once you can become lucid in dreams, you have access to the most powerful courage training facility ever created. And it's free, it's private, and it's available every single night. No one can judge you here. No one can reject you. No one can tell you you're not good enough. It's just you and your potential. Here's how it works. First, identify your specific fears. Not vague anxieties, but specific situations that make your heart race. Public speaking to a room full of strangers. Confronting someone who's mistreating you. Asking for that promotion you deserve. Starting that business you've been dreaming about for years. Having that difficult conversation with someone you love. Now, in your lucid dreams, you're going to practice these scenarios. But here's the key. You're not just going to magically succeed immediately. You're going to use progressive exposure. Start with a smaller version of the challenge. If you're afraid of public speaking, Start by speaking up in a small group dream. Feel what it's like to have your voice heard, to have people actually listen to what you have to say. When you're lucid in a dream, you can slow down time. You can replay scenarios. You can experiment with different approaches. Imagine standing up to that person who's been undermining you at work. Feel the strength in your voice. Notice how your body feels when you speak your truth with calm confidence. Experience what it's like to set boundaries without apologizing for them. I remember practicing a difficult conversation with my father in a dream. We'd been avoiding talking about something important for years, and I was terrified of his reaction. In the dream, I tried the conversation 12 different ways. Sometimes he got angry, sometimes he cried, sometimes he laughed. But every time, I got more comfortable with my truth. I practiced staying calm, staying centered, staying loving, even when he didn't respond the way I wanted. This isn't just imagination. Remember, your brain is firing the same neural pathways as if you were actually doing it. You're literally building muscle memory for courage. You're teaching your nervous system what it feels like to be brave, what it feels like to trust yourself, what it feels like to speak up for what matters. And here's what's beautiful about dream practice. You can fail safely. You can have the conversation go badly and then try again. You can bomb the presentation and then give it again with more confidence. Feel what it's like to take up space, to speak with authority, to believe in your own worth. If you want to be more compassionate, practice responding to difficult people with love instead of defensiveness. And here's the beautiful part. When you face similar situations in waking life, your brain already has a reference point. It remembers what courage feels like. It knows the neural pathway to confidence because you've walked it before, even if it was in a dream. It's not just positive thinking, it's neural reprogramming. I remember the first time I practiced asking for a raise in a dream. I must have replayed that conversation 20 different ways. I practiced what to say when my boss said we didn't have the budget. I practiced how to present my accomplishments without sounding arrogant. I practiced staying calm when he tried to make me feel guilty for asking. When I finally had the real conversation, I drew on every version. I knew what confident body language felt like. I knew how to respond to objections. I knew what it felt like to believe in my own worth. And you know what? I got the raise. Not because the dream guaranteed it, but because I trained myself to show up as someone who deserved it. Your dreams become your private rehearsal space for becoming the person you want to be. Every night, you get to practice being brave, being authentic, being fully alive. And every morning, you wake up a little bit more prepared to live that way in the world. Here's something that might change how you think about fear forever. Fear isn't a character flaw. It's not a permanent part of who you are. It's not something you're stuck with because of how you were raised or what you've experienced. Fear is simply a neural pathway that's been strengthened through repetition, like a path through the woods that becomes more worn the more people walk on it. And here's the incredible news. Neural pathways can be changed. Your brain's neuroplasticity means that every time you choose a different response, you're literally rewiring your mind. You're creating new paths and allowing the old ones to fade. And there's no more powerful time for this rewiring than during REM sleep when your brain is most moldable, most open to change. That recurring nightmare where you're being chased? Next time you become lucid, turn around and face what's chasing you. Ask it what it wants. Ask it what it's trying to teach you. Often, you'll find it transforms into something helpful or simply disappears. The thing that seemed so terrifying when you were running from it becomes manageable when you face it with consciousness. I used to have a recurring dream where I was falling, and I'd always wake up in a panic just before hitting the ground. But the first time I became lucid during that dream, I chose to keep falling. I let myself hit the ground, and instead of dying, I bounced. I realized the fear wasn't about falling, it was about lack of control. Once I chose to fall consciously, the dream lost its power over me. You're not just changing your dreams, you're changing your relationship with fear itself. You're proving to yourself, at the deepest level, that you have more power than you realized. That you can face what scares you and not only survive, but thrive. So here's what I want you to understand. This isn't a quick fix. This isn't a life hack that works overnight. This is a practice, a skill, a way of engaging with your own mind that deepens over time. Tonight, start with dream journaling. Put a notebook by your bed. When you wake up, write down everything you remember. You're beginning a conversation with your subconscious that will change your life. But understand this, you're not just learning to control your dreams. You're learning to be the conscious creator of your experience. You're discovering that the same mind that can create fear can also create courage. Every night, you get to choose. You can be a passive passenger in your own mind, or you can be the architect of your own courage. You can let your fears write the script, or you can take the pen into your own hands. Your dreams are waiting. The architect's room is ready. The question is, what will you build? Sweet dreams, architects.